All right, one of the cool things about being in the bow hunting community in the YouTube world is when you get a text message from Aaron Warbritton of this shot right here saying, "What do you think?" That's this video. There is some cool stuff here, and this is going to break some people's hearts. Stay tuned. All right, so the Warb sent me this clip, and I said, my first reaction was, is that Jake's deer? Because Jake had trouble with a deer, bent a broadhead or something earlier, and he said, no, I just shot that deer 10 minutes ago. He said, what do you think? Because everybody thinks it's going to be lost or whatever. So I'm going to walk through what I thought and what I saw as I processed this over about 20 minutes, texting back and forth with Aaron. And then you need to go watch that video on the Hunting Public channel if you haven't seen it, and tell you what I saw and what I was thinking. Because my initial reaction was the deer is dead and 70 yards away, which came to be true. But I want to tell you what I was seeing that told me that was the situation. Because this shot right here scares most people. And if you're shooting the flap, this deer's fine. Stay tuned. All right, so the first thing I look at when somebody sends me one of these clips is I want to see if the arrow is in the deer. And let me clarify that. If the arrow, when the deer moves, if the arrow is going like this, it's on the outside. It didn't penetrate very far. If it's flapping like this back and forth. If the arrow travels with the deer, and I'm running the clips over the top of this, if it travels and carries with the deer, it's penetrated. That's the first thing I saw, was that the arrow was anchored in the deer. Now, the arrow does lever as the deer moves because the opposite side leg is going down as this deer rolls away. Okay, it hits him and he rolls away. That's normal. But it's not going like this. He didn't jump. If the arrow was on the outside of the deer, when the deer jumped, the arrow would go down. Because he'd go up and the arrow's just stuck in 2 inches and the arrow would go flip, flap, flip like that. It does not. It takes a vertical travel, which tells me as the deer's rolling away and its opposite leg is going down, that means the broadhead's on the other side and that arrow is just levering. It's just being levered in the hole. That's the first thing I saw. Then I started picking it apart. The next thing I looked at as we talked was body position. And this deer happened to be quartering 2. We know the arrow's forward. I mean, it's glaringly obvious the arrow's forward. In this case, the best body position that deer could have been in is quartering 2 because the arrow was forward. Now, I know we're going to get some dumb comments, and that's probably on the channel. Well, Aaron didn't make a good shot, and it wasn't good shot placement because I would have shot it about 4 inches behind that towards the crease. Yeah, we know. Listen, the Warb and the gang are pretty salty. And if you young millennials don't know what that means they get around the country a lot and do a lot of things. And they hunt a ton, and they have tons of experience for their age. Hunting deer, public land, and videoing for random channels in Midwest Whitetail and some other stuff. They've seen hundreds of deer shot with a bow and arrow, so they were concerned as well. Fair enough, right? But don't be bashing on the hunting public guys and act like they're rookies. If you think you're that good under that pressure with a deer like that in front of you. So anyway, to all the hate mail guys, Troy at ranchfair.com, or put them in the description below and say something stupid like that. That would be awesome. I wouldn't have done that. Yeah, okay. And your old flapper would have bounced off the old humerus there. So we're clear there. So I saw the arrow travel with the deer. Warb tells me what's broke off. Confirmed. The arrow penetrated. The deer's quartering 2. That's good because the arrow's going back towards the organs, towards the lungs and the heart and back towards the front of the heart, which is great. And then I picked up on this later. I'd already told Aaron the deer's dead. Go get him. There will be no blood trail. The arrow's through the bone, through the meat, and that the leg's going to go like this and cover the hole, okay? Because the rib cage sits still, but the front leg moves. So it was not going to bleed like crazy, even though internally it'd be bleeding like crazy. So don't expect any blood, and he's 75 yards away. That was my diagnosis. Dr. Troy. So the final thing is, as I kept looking at it, it hits a stick almost at the deer that he didn't see. He talked about this on the actual hunt on the Hunting Public channel, and I'm going to talk about that at the end of this video on why shooting 640 grains, this is what he was shooting. He was shooting a cutthroat, single bevel, machined broadhead. He's shooting high forward to center, 65, 70 pounds, nothing crazy. But his arrow setup was right for the ultimate plan B, which is hit a stick, hit the ball of the humerus, and penetrate, and still kill that big deer. The next section you're going to see is, I'm just going to leave this uncut. So I edited a little bit, but this is Warb cleaning the deer and showing what he broke, which is unbelievable considering he hit a stick. He hit one of the hardest spots on a deer that scares the heck out of everybody, and still got 12 inches of penetration. The deer still didn't run very far. So watch this piece. I'm going to come back and talk about the arrow system and some of the factors that are there, and why this is the ultimate system when everything goes wrong.
This morning we are skinning my deer. We're going to do a little autopsy here for you real quick. This is the entry hole where that cutthroat went in. Deer was slightly quartering two, and I'll cut this open here in a minute and we can see the actual bone damage, but you can kind of see it right now. That broadhead likely hit the joint of the humerus and the scapula, and that shoulder is completely immobilized. That's exactly how it was when we found him too. And if you come over here, this is where the broadhead hit on the other side. You can see all the coagulated blood and stuff in there, and it lodged in that offside shoulder right there. All right, I just cut back some of the meat here on the entry hole where the broadhead went in. It was slightly quartering two, and I don't know if y'all can see that in there or not, but that right there is bone that my knife is hitting right here.
It's like the ball of the humerus.
Yep,
Looks like.
it's the ball of the humerus right there. I might rotate that up. You might kind of go down a little bit, Gooch, and shoot up in there where people can see it a little bit better. Let me cut some of this back real quick. There, I just cut it out of there. That's about an inch of solid bone in there that broadhead severed right at the joint. I don't even know that it hit the joint.
No.
I think it hit maybe right below the joint and went clear through that bone.
That's supposed to be like a ball. Like
Yep.
Like a golf ball.
That's
and
right.
It's just like half the golf ball.
Yep.
If you can see that.
All that is not, that's not my knife. That's from the broadhead. And I know that that bone is covered in blood right there, but you can kind of see it. That's my fingers on the edges of that bone.
All right, you got to admit that's some pretty impressive footage. To split the ball of the humerus in half like a lemon, penetrate to the offside shoulder, and kill that deer in under 100 yards. And that is after hitting a stick. This is key. So for all you hardcore flapper shooters, you know I'm not a mechanical guy. You have got, well, you don't have to admit this, but the chance that any mechanical broadhead would hit a stick and pre-deploy does exist at a pretty high percentage. Do I know that percentage? I do not. However, it hit something before it hit the deer, and broadheads with the flapper blades deploy when they hit things. It's just a stupid device, and that's not stupid mechanical. It's just a dumb device. It just does what it's told. Whatever it reacts to is its ecosystem. So if it hits something, it's going to do what it's designed to do. There's a really good chance that if this is a mechanical broadhead, that broadhead's pre-deployed. There is almost zero chance that broadhead, if it didn't hit the stick, would penetrate the humerus, the ball of the humerus, and sever it and get any penetration. Sorry, might happen every once in a while, but it's not going to happen with the efficiency of a system that is designed to do that kind of work. All heard of Dr. Ed Ashby's study. This is where all the factors come together. This is the kind of shot where all of a sudden you go, wow, that could actually happen to me. It wasn't a perfect shot. It hit a stick. Things were a little crazy. He hit one of the hardest bones in the deer's body, and that bone exists on every deer on earth and elk and everything else. He had the highest potential system to get that done. That arrow is a Sirius Apollo 250. It's got a 100 grain half out in the front. It's actually, I think it's a Ranch Fairy arrow. So on the Sirius website, it's actually the 4-fletch Ranch Fairy arrow. And he was shooting a one-piece broadhead. For the life of me, I have every broadhead on earth. Oh, well, he was shooting a 150 cut through. Okay. So just like the Tough Head Evolution, okay, here they are. They're one piece, they're machined, and Warb had spent some time with us in the summer here at the test lab learning to sharpen. So it all kind of came together, right? I taught those guys how to sharpen. Warb learned how to sharpen his broadheads. They're one piece. They require some maintenance. You got to learn to sharpen. There's no fail points. There's no flapping blades. Hits a stick, hits one of the hardest bones in the deer, and it's a beautiful deer. I'm not talking about, the horns are huge. The deer's physically big. There's everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. But Aaron had a system based on Dr. Ashby's research, what I call an 11-factor arrow. He had all 11 factors except for a tapered shaft. He was right about 650, but he was the perfect arrow flight. So that 640 gave him perfect arrow flight. That's key. If you shoot 750 grain sideways and 640 shoots really good, and straight, shoot 640. Vice versa, 640 flies sideways, but you're sad about your trajectory, and 750 shoots like a dart. In this situation, 750 is going to get the job done, not flying sideways. So we had perfect arrow flight. We had all the components. We had a single bevel. We had a machined head. We had no fail points. Structural integrity was off the charts, and everything went wrong except the deer went 75 yards. So just ponder that. You can send a hate mail down below and bash away at me because I chewed on the mechanicals about hitting the stick. I'm sorry. The potential for a blade to open on an impact with a stick exists at a very high level. And if you can't accept that, listen, you're just too home team for us. It's okay, but breaks a stick, breaks the ball of the humerus, penetrates a foot, kills a deer. That is absolutely spectacular. So, hey, thanks for watching. I just thought this was a really, really cool blend of all the things coming together. I got to teach Warb and the team how to sharpen earlier this summer. They started shooting more higher forward to center, higher mass projectiles. And then, like I said about 3 or 4 times, everything went wrong on shot placement, on stick, etc., except the deer went to the ground. And that's what you want. We want wounding rates to go down. We want success rates to go up. And this is not just a happiness factor. This is good for our sport. To have every deer we shoot go down is the goal. 100% success is always the goal. And in this case, if the arrow system isn't correct and geared towards plan B, this is like a plan B plus or plan C or D. I don't know what that is, but it's really high plan, 140% plan B. It's just fantastic. So Aaron and Hunting Public team, thank you for letting me use the clips, and thank that in the past for the 1/4 shots. And Aaron, thanks for letting me use this stuff. It's really cool research. It's cool to see it all come together. Everybody on the channel, you're going to see more of this kind of stuff. You're going to see some more science and math coming out of me, calculus and all kind of stuff. So hit subscribe and hit that dinger bell down at the bottom. Get notifications. Stay tuned. Ranch Fairy out.